Welcome back, everyone. How's everyone doing? As we mentioned in the last podcast, we're going to be talking about the Invisible Man. Uh, just so to let you know, I didn't watch this film right before the podcast. So usually when we record something, I'll watch the clip, and then within 2 or 3 hours, we're discussing it, even if it's a film I'd seen before. I'd seen it close enough that I remembered a lot of the details, so that when I was trying to watch it, it was a struggle. So I felt it was doing the film a disservice to see it. It's like watching it right, a replay right after you've seen it. It wasn't doing it much. So if my viewpoints or notes on this film are a little different than usual, that's the reason. And we'll try to pick films that I haven't seen too recently. But
Okay.
yeah, go ahead. Your pick. What are your thoughts? Or did you want me to
Well,
start? Or
no, it's okay. I could actually go into it. So obviously, see, I have a love-hate relationship with movies. I love them, and I'll also tell you what I didn't like about it. I'll start with what I loved about this.
you love them
Uh,
and love to hate them.
yeah, see, Elizabeth Moss, she's the reason I watched this. I accidentally saw the trailer while I was watching another movie, and before I was able to, shield my eyes and my ears, I'd seen a little too much. But she already sold me on the movie just in a couple of seconds. Like, for one, it's I mean, I don't know if I expect that our viewers have seen or know this classic story of the Invisible Man. I mean, the from my viewpoint, and I saw this as a kid, it was a tale
Didn't know
of
this was a remake.
no, oh no, it's a story, like a classic story.
Oh, well, I know like there have been films about invisible men or people, but I didn't know that this story was a well documented or well told story in the past.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, so I guess I might as well say that. Like it's kind of like on the level of what do they call this? Like War of the Worlds, or like
Okay.
even stuff like Oliver Twist. Like it's one of those
Oh
stories
wow!
that,
So this is like a well known fable or story or
yeah,
whatever.
story, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So the actual story, I would even say Hollow Man is, I don't know if you ever saw Hollow Man.
I mean I saw it when I was a kid, but I don't remember shit.
Okay, so Hollow Man seems closer to the original story. My idea of it was that it was a tale of the major question was, what would a person do if you were completely incognito? So like you were able to do things where people couldn't see you, or they couldn't tell, they didn't know it was you.
Right.
So it was a tale of power, and what would a person do if they had total power and control. So I love the fact that this was a spin on the story from a domestic abuse point of view.
Hmm.
So that was one of the reasons why I loved Elizabeth Moss's portrayal, because she was believable as a battered woman. And I don't
Definitely.
know. Yeah, I don't know if that's a politically incorrect thing to say, but fuck it. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
she definitely she had abuse both physical. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, she mentioned it was physical and it was definitely very abusive
Psychological.
mentally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're I mean, I think you were talking about the word battered. Yeah, he beat her up.
Yeah, I was even using the word basically to describe, physical abuse and mental abuse. Like she conveyed that sense of dread in almost every scene. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
too much,
Yeah.
it was balanced, but she was believable. I loved it. Um, I also loved the use of sound and
Okay.
music, like the sound design. I really loved it. Of course, that I also had a problem with that, but I'll address that shortly. I love the use of space and focus in the scenes, like
Okay.
where you had large spaces, you had small spaces. It was like you went from being claustrophobic to trying to find Waldo, and Waldo in
See,
this case was the
invisible.
invisible person. Yeah.
See, now that you're mentioning these points, they're coming back to memory. So that's interesting. That I think I need to have seen the films more recently if we're going to review them. But yeah, I think I agree because not just the camera shots, but the areas in which he was attacking her. Sometimes it's just that small room in the mental hospital. Sometimes it's out in the
Yeah,
parking lot when they're chasing each other. So it
yeah,
was never confined to like one dimension where he can maneuver around. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then let's see, what else was it that I liked? Yeah, those were the few things. So two things I didn't like, the emphasis on jump scares, but I understand that that was an integral part of the story because she's facing an unseen nemesis. So
Yeah. They're
yeah,
justified because what she's experiencing are jump scares.
exactly, exactly. And then of course, back to the show and tell. I kind of got annoyed. I mean, it wasn't really show and tell. Like they didn't tell us as much. They showed us, but it was kind of excessive. Where in the beginning, she gets out of bed. One of the first things she does is holds a medicine container, and of course, the camera focuses on the name. I'm like, okay, I get. Even without going further in that scene, I knew what they were trying to convey,
Mhm.
but it just seemed very unrealistic for me to be scared for my life, to get out of bed, and the first thing I do is carry the medicine container to take a look at it. What was the point? Okay. And then she goes over to, so here's the thing. And then she goes over to his side and then she lifts his glass, his drink of water or whatever, and then she shakes it up so that we can see that there was something dissolved in it. And then afterwards, she still takes, the drink, oh sorry, the glass container, oh sorry, the glass and the medicine container to a sink and then disposes of the water. And then you still see the canister there. I think she could have just tightened up, they could have tightened up everything by just showing us at the sink.
True, true. So that's all correct. But at the same time, considering the movie didn't feel slow and it didn't feel long, I don't mind that they fleshed something out a little more than they should have. My issues when things are too expanded or too long form is when the film's already kind of laggy and kind of slow. But when I originally watched it, I didn't really feel like, oh, come on, just move the story along. Like I didn't feel that, so I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, you wanted to show us every detail of how she did this, and then don't forget that that first scene they were trying to show you how much planning had to happen for her to be able to escape. So maybe
Yeah.
that's just another way of like emphasizing that point.
Yeah. And then I think, at least for now, and I'll let you, dig into it and rip it apart or, give it its full praise. But something which took away from it for me because I mean we understand that in horror movies essentially characters are dumb and sometimes the stories are I mean no not all the characters are dumb but you kind of have to build it around mostly dumb characters except for maybe the protagonist.
I don't know about
But
the word dumb. They just don't make the choices that a normal person would make for the sake of the plot moving in the direction they needed to move in. So I don't know if dumb, I just think just unrealistic.
okay, unrealistic, okay. The most unrealistic part maybe it's just that I didn't get it was the idea of him um handing over his fortune to her and then putting that clause in there, provided she was not rude, mentally incompetent. I didn't get it because it seemed like, yes, it seemed like he was mostly trying, for the duration of the flick, he was mostly trying to either alienate her. I like the idea of alienating her from a family and friends. Like it seemed very realistic from a domestic abuse point of view. Maybe because I'm aware of things like that. But
It's fun watching you dance around what words you use there. Keep going.
yeah, because I mean, I've lived around it. I've been around it. So it's usual that the person plays all these mind games and tries to alienate your family and friends and stuff like that. I got that part, and then trying to gaslight her, making her seem to everyone else that she was the crazy person. But it was kind of inconsistent with him scaring her. And then okay, so let me first talk about the issue with the inheritance. Like I didn't get what the point was. of scaring, making her, ruling her as mentally incompetent, and then taking them having to take the money back. Like, what was the point? I didn't get it.
It was just a. It's another level of to the torture. B, he's showing her like, look, when you were with me, you had all this money, and then he's controlling her to try to get the baby, and it introduces the plot point of the brother, introduces him, and then the discussion they have about how he was mentally abusive to the brother as well. I don't, I think without it, it served a purpose. I don't think you would have been able to remove it from the film and then keep the plot progressing the way it did, the exact same way. So I don't see the complete unneed or unimportance of it.
Yeah, maybe it was that was needed, but it wasn't fleshed out properly, or maybe completely,
Okay.
because it just seemed like, oh, by the way, it's kind of like, let's play this game where I give you all this money, but you can't be ruled and mentally incompetent. And oh yeah, you got ruled mentally incompetent. Okay, so
Yeah, he's just fucking with her. It's more levels to the torture. My issues with oh, sorry, I didn't mean. Keep going. I didn't mean to.
sorry, I'm kind of like monopolizing this thing. I
No, no,
apologize.
no, bro. I've monopolized a bunch of these podcasts. Like the About Time one, I did shut up the entire time. So by all means, go for it.
Okay, so the final point for me was it was kind of inconsistent, like what he did. Like for the most part, it was just psychological torture. And then all of a sudden, he kills the sister. Like I love that scene, don't get me wrong. Like just how sudden it was. Like it was jarring because he hadn't done that. That was like, oh wow, this guy's escalated. But
Yeah,
then the part that didn't make any sense was when he went to when she was in the mental hospital or whatever it was supposed to be, like the part where he beat up some guards and then he shot one, and it wasn't that he needed to shoot that um guard or whatever, because he had already, I think, walked past the guard or whatever. I don't remember the way it actually played out, but it was just like he could have just gone past them. I get that his costume was glitching at certain points, but the points at which that he did his thing, like he beat them or he did different things, he could have just left, just the same way. But it's like, why announce your presence when, I mean, yeah, your presence had already been announced, but you could have disappeared. You could have just been like, nobody would have believed those other people saying that, oh, I saw something I didn't see, whatever. So I didn't get it. I didn't get why. It was nice camera work with the shooting and the angles and stuff like that, but
agreed, agreed. I don't know how to justify that. I find it a little confusing because in the end, it was revealed that the brother was in the suit, and so there were two invisible men. In
yeah,
a way, I don't know if you can hear that tapping. It's my dog again. I'm sorry.
that's
Uh,
cool. She's part of the she's part of
yeah,
the
like
show. Or
she was asleep, and as soon as we started recording, she was like having a stretch and strut around the room. But so there was him and the brother, and they were both to an extent had the suits. So I don't know who was. If I recall correctly, it was the brother that was there in the hospital, right?
I don't even know because
They didn't
he
make it
had,
abundantly clear, but let's assume it was the brother in the hospital. Now, this brother isn't as cold and calculated as the other, as the main guy that she was with. I forget his name. But
yeah.
now that he's not that, not he's not as calculated, or he's not as cunning. Maybe that's why he's shooting them and he's announcing himself when he shouldn't be, and he's not abandoning the mission. Partly because he's afraid of the brother who's abusive, partly just because he doesn't have that intellect. So that could have been a factor for me. What bugged me about the film were just two parts, and even with them bugging me, it was still a good film. What bugged me, the obvious one, was that no one believed them. Like even with the cameras and the camera footage and the dead security guards at the mental ward and this, that, and the other, and then you have a cop on your side who's beaten up into the face and he's corroborating your story, and they still made it seem like it was enough to get you off, but not enough to go after this guy. Not enough to go after this guy. Like, what are you, fucking nuts? Like, what more do you need than a floating gun shooting up, killing guards at a mental ward? Like, what do you like? What more do you need? Like, if that's not enough evidence, what the fuck is? So that part that bugged me. The other part that kind of bugged me, not really, is so they did a really good job on her telling about the abuse of that she gotten from this guy.
Yes.
But we saw none of this guy's character or his skills in conversation or his manipulation from him himself. And that's sorry, Pepper? No. Sorry guys. So it was just a little off for me. Like, first of all, why did you choose this girl? You're an incredibly wealthy man. You're incredibly intelligent. There's no explanation as to why he chose this girl. All right, let's let that go random. She explained what she felt. He manipulated her, and then the abuse started to progress forward. So it wasn't like instant for her to like, oh, red flag, I shouldn't date this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, but show us some of the things. At least quote him, say something. Just show us how that happened. Um, why was he trying to have a baby with her? Like it just didn't add up to me. Like there was I don't understand why they were together. You know what I mean? And I don't understand how her friends and family were so secluded from her.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's stuff that I'm sure there's a logic to it that I didn't personally follow. Um, but yeah, the film was chill. The acting was superb. She was a star. Her skills is
Yeah.
really like I've seen her in smaller roles in other movies or and stuff, and she seemed normal as an actress, but here she really shone and she was really good.
Yeah.
Uh, the fighting seemed realistic to me when he was fighting the cop. There was no like the black guy that was her roommate. I forget the
Yeah.
name. There was no like one punch knockouts. It was a very believable, gritty fight. It was believable in the sense of how you would lose or win if you can't see your opponent. They went through all the tactics of her throwing paint on him, her getting him wet in the rain or whatever, this, that, and the other. I thought, other than the two gripes I had with the film that I've mentioned, it was a good film.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
pacing, very good camera work, especially the one you highlighted in that fight scene in the mental ward with the guns. It was yeah, I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
actually saw that right before they shut down movie theaters and such for Corona.
Same. Same.
Yeah. Like I went to the theater when they just implemented the social distancing thing, and it was like one row yes, one row no. I was like, oh,
Oh,
I'll get two
wow.
rows for me. Oh, nice, because no one
Where
else was in the theater. It was just me and like two people on a date. I was like, cool.
where were the
Uh,
seats more expensive?
no, same price.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
no one was going to the theaters at that time anyway, because everyone was scared shitless. But it
Oh,
was
okay, then I guess I probably saw it before then because dude, we're like, there were
oh,
people right
okay,
next to me. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Something I wanted to go over was what you had mentioned. Maybe because of my, should I say, proximity to stuff like this. I know it's mostly a game of power and control.
Hmm.
So a lot of times these guys, I mean these people, they have their own insecurities too. But it's just that, unfortunately, they now have power. Maybe they might not have power over a larger number of people, but they seek out, it's kind of like the predator prey thing. They seek out people that they can dominate. And fortunately, I think she portrayed that. She seemed like a person you could walk all over. So
I mean, not by the end. By the end, she had
no,
found
no,
her
no, no, no.
backbone.
But that was part of her growth.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, that's fair. What I didn't understand was his obsession with her. I can logically connect the dots in my head. What I'm saying is the film should have done something to try to help me connect those dots a little easier. Again,
okay.
because it didn't feel like it ran long and it didn't feel like it was slow pacing. One or two flashbacks about them in the beginning of the relationship or mid relationship to just a illustrate why he chose her, and then b illustrate some of his manipulative tactics would have really helped me go like, damn, because I felt for her. I felt for her hard, especially when she was all alone. My issue is just it could have been more had they done these one thing that I just wanted to see more of. But again, I mean, I could follow it, I can understand it. They didn't seem like a major plot hole to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was all for it. It was a good flick. Yeah. I don't want to make it seem like the best movie ever or anything, but it was good. It was really
Yeah.
good. I mean, I enjoyed it. I didn't have any buyer's remorse after paying a ticket at a movie theater. You know, like sometimes I'll see a movie in the theater. I'm like, I should have probably illegally streamed that, but that was a waste of some money. Like I didn't have that, So that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it was a good flick. It was
Yeah.
actually stop saying it was a good film. It was a good film.
That's my consensus on it too.
Yeah, I think when I saw it, I'm like, I wonder what Akeen's take on this would be. And then when you recommended the film, I was like, oh, cool. I'll get to find out. Like, because it's relatively new and everything. I think it came out in what, March or late February maybe.
I don't even know,
I saw
man.
it on the trip to LA in March when I was there, so I'm assuming it was in theaters
Y-
then, so it couldn't have been released too long ago.
Yeah, I think it was probably February. But yeah. But I guess that sums it up, right? We
Yeah.
both liked it. I'm ashamed to say that no, because I feel bad saying that I liked it, not because I don't actually like movies. It's because I want to stay away from the two thumbs up, you know, kind
No, no. Look,
praise or whatever. It's like just say what's good, say what's bad.
what's only
That's
bugging me about the praise we're giving is we shot so hard on some films that were up to the same par, you know what I mean, or to the same standard, and we just like let them have it. And then like I don't know about you, but like when we reviewed About Time, I listened to it over as I was editing the video and uploading it and everything. I was like, huh, I'm a bit harsh on this film, even though I loved it. I'm like, now I just feel bad that I like ragged on that. And I'm giving this film, which I did enjoy but didn't love as much, praise. But I'm like, whatever. You can't win them all, you know.
I mean
Anyway,
the heart.
guys. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna use a Selena Gomez line. The heart wants what it wants.
I would never in a million years have guessed that you'd listen to Selena Gomez, but goes to show stereotypes are bad.
Actually, that was more of a sarcastic thing that I said, but you know what? Fuck it.
You
Yeah,
know
I do
what? The
listen to
heart does
crap.
want what it wants. Okay. Second of all, you can be a big Selena Gomez fan. I ain't judging, right? You know me. I like weird things, or things that aren't like popular for men or whatever. So yeah. Love Selena Gomez all you want, buddy.
All right. I love you, Selena. Holla at your boy. Whatever. When I'm rich and famous, though, don't holla at me right now. I'm a scrub.
Oh, okay. So holler at him in a while.
Yeah.
No. Don't say you're a scrub. You holler at him now. Jesus, get her now, man. You know, she needs to invest in you. Like get in on the ground floor now when you ain't shit, and so that when you're big and whatever later.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, guys, scratch that. I'm kidding. Whatever. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for patronizing us, and
We
we'll
haven't
see you.
decided what we're watching next, but tune in next week for a surprise. I think it'll be one of my picks, and something tells me it might just be Casablanca or some other
Fuck.
sappy romantic film just to piss off Akeen for no reason. We'll see. We'll figure it out and tune in next week. Thanks, guys.